the war that no one's watching, the third one that could very well be the single deciding factor as to whether the Civil War will escalate into the fulfillment of the prophecy. And this war is between two men, Putin and Barack Obama. According to informed Middle East sources, each man has a vision for how the Syrian civil war should end. Obama wants Assad gone, Putin wants him to stay. They not only can't agree on how to proceed, but each one is also trying to torpedo the other one's chances of succeeding. These sources say it's the inability of these two men to agree that's standing in the way of a resolution to the crisis. And as long as their disagreement continues, the probability of war spilling over the borders into neighboring countries becomes ever more likely. Now, most of the news sources I've read have concluded that Obama is outclassed in this disagreement. He's outclassed in everything.
Putin made him look bad a couple months ago.
Yeah, like when he was gonna, if they crossed the red line. Well,
Yeah.
you saw the debacle that was, fiasco. And that sooner or later Putin will have his way. He's already won a couple of the big battles, refusing to keep Iran in check, refusing to withhold the sale of advanced anti-aircraft batteries to Syria, are two of the most obvious. The first has given Assad powerful assistance on the ground, and the second will give him protection from aerial attack by Israel. In both cases, Obama stood by and let it happen. Bible prophecy might favor Putin in this case. According to Ezekiel 38 and 39, Russia will be a major participant in that battle.
Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Okay. In the year 2000, I read this. It was in the newspaper. I just thought it was weird. I showed my husband. I haven't been able to find it since. Because now that these things are happening, I'm like, because when I first read it, I was like, this is weird. Vladimir Putin has a plan for peace in the Middle East. It's to make Jerusalem like the Vatican and Rome.
International.
Yeah, and to make it, declare it like, an entity unto itself.
Mhm.
And doesn't that sound like the abomination of desolation? Like, and the fact that he went off the world stage for a while, I kind of thought, well, maybe that was just coincidence, but now he's back on in such a big way, and then all I can think about is that plan he had for peace, and how they'll say peace, peace, you know what I mean? But I guess we'll find out soon
I don't think
enough.
that's gonna happen.
You know.
I'll tell you why it won't be Russia that does it. I think it's gonna happen when the 70th week of Daniel begins. There's gonna be the confirming of the covenant and the peace agreement, and the Jews are gonna be calling for their temple to be rebuilt, because they'll be back in their old covenant with God, because God will just have delivered them from annihilation in Ezekiel 38. But Gog and Magog, Russia and Iran, are defeated by God in that one. And then begins the 70th week, where I don't like to call it the tribulation, I'd rather call it the 70th week, because it's for Israel, not us. And the abomination that happens midway through the 70th week will be when the Antichrist commits the abomination, which we see the pattern for that in Daniel, the book of Daniel, when Nebuchadnezzar has, not Nebuchadnezzar. In Daniel, when who was it, Epiphanes,
Antiochus Epiphanes.
defiled the temple
Yeah. Mhm.
with an idol. And the same thing's gonna happen in the rebuilt third temple. The Antichrist is gonna declare himself God. And then the big battle, God's wrath at that point begins. Up till then, it's like man's wrath, pretty much, man's wrath against man. But when the abomination hits and Satan, who is behind indwelling the Antichrist, that's war with God, and God's wrath's going to be poured out. And we won't be here. I'm convinced of it. But I don't think it's going to be Russia that has anything to do with the peace, because they're going to be done in with the war of Ezekiel 38. Um, Well, you'll see this in a minute, because I'm getting to
Yeah,
it too.
I was just saying, I just thought that was interesting when I
And that
read
was
that.
back in
Because he
2000?
was, I imagine he'd have been working with the Vatican on that idea, because it's a program, you know,
I
a
don't
program kind of,
They're kind of
Similar.
godless in Russia.
you know, he, you know, so.
The Vatican itself wants it to be declared international. Of course, you know, who
They
would be
own
in
part of
charge?
it or
Who owns,
something.
who owns most of the property over there? You go over there as a tourist, and it's a church built over every site that Constantine's mother said there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and, yeah, the church is pretty much in charge over there already. And Israel allows it. They allow Christians, Muslims, Jews, they're just, you know, they don't care. They don't try to proselytize, they don't try to, it's like, you and God have a relationship. We're not gonna try to convince you of anything. Find your own way to me. That's their attitude.
Who was the Pope?
No, the Jews.
Oh, the Jew. Well, the
No,
Pope,
the
Pope
Pope's
said
got
the other
his
day,
own
he says,
rules.
who am I to judge with people the way they want to live? So,
The Pope said that?
Pope said that the other day.
What do you mean, who is he to judge? He's supposed to be Jesus' army.
When it came down to
He's supposed to be in
same-sex
that
marriages, he
office.
said that.
So
Who
if
am I to
anybody feels
judge?
like they should be able to judge, it should be the Pope.
Well, it sounds to me like Rick Warren. You don't have to see eye to eye to go hand in hand.
Crystal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Crystal.
Ah.
So much for an equal leader.
They said that he's full of surprises, the new Pope, Francis.
He's the last one, right?
He's the last one
Yeah.
according to Malachi.
You gotta do what he's gotta do.
I don't know, you think you could be the false prophet?
Who, the Pope?
Yeah,
We don't know him good enough yet.
we don't,
Well, he was born in Italy. He was the last Pope, the
I
last
think
Pope.
he has Jewish blood in him too.
Well, that would help.
Yeah. But see, the Jews will be able to accept anyone as the Antichrist. Why? Because it's a man. They don't see the Messiah as God. They see him as a man who's gonna bring peace.
There's one living human that they say that can actually trace his lineage back to King David, and that's Charles, like,
Prince Charles.
the older guy. Is that his name?
Oh, the prince,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that he's
Prince
like
William, Charles.
the older one, the
Charles.
dad. Yeah, they said that he's the only person.
Prince
Oh.
Charles,
Yeah, they
England?
said that he's
the Prince of Wales?
Yeah,
He's the
they
only person
said that
alive.
he's the only person alive on the earth right now today that can actually prove he can trace his blood
Wow.
back to. And then the guy that was writing that book said, if you read the scripture closely, it says he will have like influence of power. It doesn't say that he himself is gonna execute the stuff, but he will influence the things by his power over others.
Who, Charles?
And there's a statue in Brazil that has a picture of Prince Charles. And you know how they have the big picture of Jesus, the big statue? They
Yeah.
have a big statue of Prince Charles that has him standing on top of the world and all the little children grabbing up to his feet, and he looks like Superman, and it says Savior of the World.
I saw that.
I don't see him being the savior of anything.
But
I think it.
it's just interesting, like you just
Nobody
kind of
likes
watch all
Charles.
these little things.
The Queen's
You'll never
gonna,
wanna add
But
them.
it's
But
gonna
the
be
Queen
a-
doesn't
Yeah.
like
The
Charles.
Queen's gonna pass over him to William for the
He's
crown.
Well, that's
Queen
what, we like
That's coming.
The Queen will not give up her monarchy to her son Charles.
No,
He'll be
William's
king, but
gonna get
other
the,
than that-
William's gonna become
Partly
king.
because of Camilla.
William's gonna become king.
William will be the king. And William is, this is interesting, how old is he now,
That's what I'm
30?
saying.
He's 31.
Isn't
What?
it interesting?
What,
And-
Randy?
And I did
I was
read,
gonna say, how old is he?
He's 31 or 32.
Yes.
31, I think.
just like Jesus was when he started his ministry.
Yeah.
I did read before that they do trace their lineage back to King David.
Oh, yes.
And if there was a candidate in this world right now that we could identify as well-liked, well-loved, moral, righteous, whatever you want to call it, William and Kate.
William and
Oh,
Kate,
yeah.
Yeah.
everybody loves them.
Everybody loves him, and
Yeah.
he would be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody thinks that, well, I shouldn't say everybody thinks. Some people think the Antichrist is gonna just be, you know, just pure evil, nasty,
Oh,
mean, like,
no.
Oh, no.
No.
Come in.
He's
Angel
gonna be
light.
Deceiver.
charismatic, and they're gonna love him and accept him. The Jews won't know he's not the Messiah. I mean, they'll accept him as Messiah for the 70th week of Daniel. They won't know he's not the Messiah till he commits the abomination. Because you know what? They've been that route before. Didn't a man already say he was the Messiah once? And what'd they do to him? But they're not gonna be able to do anything except flee if they believe that. And where are they gonna flee? Into Jordan. And how can they go? I'm going backwards now, like the commercial. But, and how are they gonna flee into Jordan? Because of Psalm 83 and Isaiah
They
17.
don't have that.
They're gonna have sovereignty over Jordan.
Yeah, Israel's gonna have control of that.
So, I mean, it all just meshes
Together,
together,
it does.
just. Oh. I was Bible prophecy, my favorite Putin, according to Ezekiel 38, Russia will be a major participant in that battle. And having a strong position in the Middle East would be an important advantage. So right now, they're very important, and Putin does have it all over. And I even had a thing sent to me where they were comparing Putin in this column and Obama in this column with photos. Have you seen that?
Oh, that was so funny.
It was hilarious. It was like, now, I'm sure these are propaganda type pictures, promotional pictures of Putin. But him with his shirt off and he's
Riding a
doing all
horse, yeah.
these rock climbing and
Fishing.
paddling, fishing, hunting and everything, and he's got muscles and abs and he looks like a man, you know, and just, well, I never thought he was that great looking. I always thought he looked snooty. But when you see him in these pictures, you know, like
He's in
Arnold
shape, huh?
Schwarzenegger, you
Yeah.
would go like,
Airbrushed.
"Whoa, Putin."
Yeah, he's
Photo
not-
editing.
Yeah, it is.
And then in the other column, it would give a little blurb under each picture for Putin, and under Obama it says, and he's showing bowing to the Saudi guy, and it shows him going like this, like, because some little dog was there or something. I mean, just a sissy. Just a big old sissy that keeps standing. Whew.
He's no Ronald Reagan, that's for sure.
He's part of the
This is gonna
plan,
be on
Sherry.
YouTube. They're gonna knock on my door one day.
What? What?
So Russia will be a major participant in Ezekiel 38. And remember, when the Muslim coalition attacks, it will be from the north. And that could mean they'll come over from Syria into the Golan. I'm not saying we're seeing a run-up on Ezekiel 38 yet, because it can't be until the other two things are fulfilled. But we know it's coming. And if Russia already has a presence in Syria, they'd have an advantage in what we believe is a surprise attack. So in the meantime, the Russian-Iranian support has strengthened and emboldened Assad. I mean, they're the power behind Assad. So much so that he was willing to risk using chemical weapons against the rebel forces. Obama had previously said this would not be tolerated, but so far, even after being confronted with clear evidence, he denied it happened. Sissy. In Syria, this has been interpreted to mean that the limited use of chemical weapons is tolerated. So Obama, nothing he's said or done means anything. Israeli leaders have been more resolute. After all, it's their country that's being directly threatened by this. When they detected the movement of the prohibited weaponry in Lebanon for Hezbollah's use against them, they attacked and destroyed it. You didn't even hear about it. You hear about it the morning after, don't you? You know what the prophecy about Damascus is? You go to bed at night and in the morning Damascus is gone. That's their tactic. That's the only way they can do it. They've done it twice now. They've seen weapons being moved around. They're trying to get them over to here because right now Lebanon has 800,000 missiles that can reach all the way down to Tel Aviv. And in the Gaza Strip, they can reach Tel Aviv this way. So when this all starts up here, this is going to escalate more here. They're going to be on multiple fronts. And the reason they're going to be on multiple fronts, and Jordan always fence sits. They sit there, they want to be at peace with Israel. They always have. But when push comes to shove, they side with their Arab brothers. And that's why they went in and took they were fighting in the 67 war, the same thing. So all these fronts, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Gaza, they're all going to attack at once. Why do you think there's going to be total annihilation of them? Because if they don't hit with full power, they're not going to survive. They've got to use full power, and that's exactly what they've said. You'll see in a second. So they've gone in there twice already, and they've hit, when they've detected that weapons have been moving around trying to get them back over to Lebanon, they've hit them and destroyed them. Has anybody done anything to them? They're scared. They're scared. They know that Israel, when it comes down to it, is going to let loose on them. They have no option. You know, that Israel is the size of New Jersey. It's almost indefensible. If they don't hit with full power, they have nothing. So, informed sources are beginning to see the handwriting on the wall, as Israel has progressively denied the use of small steps to preempt the threat from their sworn enemies. Their only recourse will be to take the big ones. When that happens, one leading Israeli correspondent has said Obama will stand right behind Assad in line with the people to blame. Now, I have a friend over in Israel, his name is Jerry, and he sends out a newsletter to people, that he knows. And he wrote about what's going on over there and talking about using full force of power, when it comes to it. He's Messianic, he believes in the Lord. And he actually has this ministry going over there where he has, he had 2, I think, now he has 3 big boats, like the size of yachts. He doesn't own them personally. The ministry, he's been getting donations from all over the world, mostly Jews, like in North American Jews, have donated. And what his ministry is, he's been going back and forth to Turkey and everything, trying to line up how he is going to rescue some of the Jews when all this breaks loose, because they won't be able to fly. And the only way out would be by boat to try to rescue them. So he sent the newsletter, and he was telling exactly what I've been standing here reading about. And I sent it to my cousin Bob in Binghamton. And I said, look at what Jerry's saying. Well, he sent it to a friend of his who was a retired policeman, who has a friend in Israel that lives there. He's Israeli. And he sent me the response back from this guy that lives in Israel, and he says, I don't hear anything like this going on over there. All I hear is about some man that's in the news who was dating a 13-year-old girl, and then some singer over there and entertainment, blah, blah, blah. And my cousin Bob said, well, not all this stuff you're sending me, nobody over there seems to even know what's going on. I said, does anybody here know what's going on? And he said, well, no. I said, like Mindy said one time, what did you say about America's not a something, they're at the mall.
America's not at war, America's at the mall.
It's the same thing in Israel. When I go over there, you never know anything's going on. That's what I keep telling people, it's peaceful. It's actually, they might be giving out gas masks, but it's peaceful. You don't see anything happening. I can go out 3 o'clock in the morning and walk anywhere. I'm not in danger. It's not dangerous. Now, if you go in certain areas, like the Gaza Strip, yeah, but or down in that area where, you know, they come through the fence now and then. But, I mean, I'm talking about in Jerusalem and all that. Tel Aviv, yeah, you got the same city crime and stuff, not on a big scale, but you've got that same as in any city. But I'm talking about, generally speaking, in Jerusalem, you can walk all over Jerusalem all night long if you want. There's no problem. But those people, the Israelis don't see it happening. They're still talking about entertainment tonight. Just like everybody here's talking about Miley Cyrus. Who cares? The world's going to hell, and they're talking about the American Music Awards, you know? So, ask them to come to something like this and be informed, and it's like, well, when the Lord comes, the Lord will come. There's nothing you can do about it. So, I just wrote back and told them, well, they don't know any more than anybody else in this country does. They don't want to know. So, are we there yet? We've come close to the fulfillment of Isaiah 17 before, but each time cooler heads have prevailed, and this destruction of Damascus has been postponed. I say postponed because Isaiah's prophecy will be fulfilled. We have God's promise on that. He says in Isaiah 46, I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times what is still to come. What I have said, that I will bring about. What I have planned, that will I do. Various reports confirm a conviction among Israel's military and political leaders that war with Syria is coming. And there's also a consensus among the Jewish people that know what's going on, that they must win and win it decisively. There is no room for delay or procrastination or weakness. When they decide it's time to hit, they're going to hit full force. And that's going to, you're going to wake up in the morning, like I do every morning, and think, did it happen yet? Fox News. No, they're talking about the Obamacare. So, if it's God's timing that this will be the fulfillment of Isaiah 17 and perhaps Psalm 83, if it's not, we'll be drawn back from the brink once again to catch our breath and wait for the next run-up to it. Chances are, though, it's not going to be long in coming. Why? Because of the timeline that we're seeing that's all coming down to that 9-month, 6-month period of time that converges on the time around Passover and the blood moon tetrads. And I just have this conviction that those blood moon tetrads are a sign given to those who have some knowledge of what's coming, that get ready, it's coming. You've heard about that then. Okay. So the Ezekiel 38 war is seen in Ezekiel's own statement, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living without walls and without gates and bars. I think I told you this before. The Hebrew words that mean open, or that mean unwalled villages, actually means open spaces. They're settlements. They're not walled in or anything. They're just open settlements, because when Psalm 83 and Isaiah 17 are fulfilled, they're going to expand. And where are they going to go? They're going to expand out into open spaces and settle on it. It won't be a long time, because we're coming up, when the new sabbatical cycle starts in September 2015, at the very beginning of that is when not just me, but a lot of people expect that Ezekiel 38 will happen because it will kick off the 70th week of Daniel with 7-year tribulation. So this all has to come about sometime between, I say now and the springtime, because there's got to be about a year, at least probably in between, for Iran and Russia to come back to take a spoil to try to regain what was lost in Ezekiel 38. And that's when they'll be wiped out by God in Ezekiel 38. The things happening in the Middle East right now are so for them to be living in these open spaces and thinking, well, we've done away with our immediate enemies, the Palestinians are subdued and Damascus is gone and, you know, we're at relative peace right now. Well, right now, the opposite is happening. They're prepared for war and they're alert to any sign that will indicate the beginning of a war. So we're not at that point yet of Ezekiel 38. We're at the point where the fulfillment of those other two battles have to happen first. They're also planning a preemptive strike against Iran, which they believe will lead to a wider regional war of the kind described in Psalm 83. Now I have a little bit of question about this. This whole thing that just came down with this Iranian deal with Obama and the other 5 countries has actually made it harder for Israel to go in and bomb Iran. And also, if you look back, how many years now has it been that you've been hearing of wars and rumors of wars that they've got to go in and take Iran out? Or not take Iran out, but take out their nuclear facilities. Back in the 80s, they went in and hit the one nuclear facility and saved the world an extra 10, 20 years worth of worry. But now, it's twice as hard for them to be able to go in and strike Iran with all these other countries behind Obama. And I stopped and I started thinking, is this just one of those wars and rumors of wars thing? Because Iran is not in the battles of Psalm 83 or Isaiah 17. They're still intact. Russia's still intact because they've come into play in Ezekiel 38, right? So will there really be an Iranian strike now before we see the fulfillment of Psalm 83 and Isaiah 17? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to end up attacking them at all. I think something's going to escalate, I don't know what, maybe spilling over into the Golan or something. Something's going to trigger it. But I don't think you're going to see a strike in Iran now. It'll surprise me now if they do. They're making plans. Israel went in and had meetings with the Saudis because the Saudis are scared to death. They don't want Iran to have the bomb. So I think they're preparing for it. Maybe they know they're gonna, maybe they know they're not really gonna. I don't know. I think they're preparing for it or just in case or something, but I don't think we're gonna see an attack on Iran. No. And not because of Obama. That just made it harder for them. But it might have been the step that God used to keep Israel from going into Iran. Because this other stuff has to happen first. So, I mean, it's a kind of a different, weirder way to look at it. But everybody's, you know, was so worried about the strike on Iran. No, it don't look like it's going to happen. Oh, why? Oh, there's a reason for that. So, right now, over in the area, Russia has actually withdrawn most of its military presence from Syria. Did you know that? The only people left there are just enough resources that to like, you know, the embassy kind of, there's not hardly any Russians left in Syria.
Wow.
And it says they left enough resources in place to evacuate their remaining people. But there's no Russians in Syria. They're doing it all long distance now, although the area is surrounded by warships, Russian warships. So something's gonna happen to Damascus, because it's the seat of terrorism. Okay, and so all of this has led me to conclude that Ezekiel 38 will more likely occur shortly after Israel has achieved victory in Psalm 83 and Isaiah 17 events, which could come as a result of their attack on Iran, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to come as a result on the attack on Iran. So what's this got to do with us? And this will wrap it up. Oh, I'm actually having something.